The gentleman from Alabama has reappeared, and he's recognized for 5 minutes. Mr. Palmer.
Can I have 15 minutes? I'm kidding. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions, Mr. Hall. I think earlier Congresswoman Black asked about the new baseline being altered for the CSR payments.
Right.
And I've asked that this be handed out. In June of 17, you were projecting $44 billion savings, but you were anticipating that these payments would be made. Why did you change that?
I'm
the
sorry.
Baseline. You raised the baseline.
And this is the direct payments for the CSRs? Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's not in the baseline now because there are no direct payments being made. But what we've adjusted is we've adjusted the tax credits that people get because insurance companies, in response to not getting the direct payments, have raised premiums, and they're now people are receiving increased tax credits. So that's how the federal government is paying for it now.
Section 257B1 of the Graham-Rudman-Hollins Act requires budget scorekeeping agencies to assume that funding for entitlement authority is adequate to make all payments required by those laws.
Right.
In other words, you would have had to get an instruction to do that. You don't have I don't think you have the authority to do that without.
Well, we do. Again, we do have payments. The CSR, funding for the CSR is in our baseline. It's just in a different spot. It's not the direct payments. It's through the higher premiums and the subsidies for those.
All right. I'm sorry I've had to miss most of this. I've been trying to keep up with what's going on, but in some of the discussions, and I just got a little bit of Mr. Bergman's questions, your answer to that about skin in the game and where we are in terms of getting to a balanced budget. It's kind of a hot topic today with the balanced budget amendment coming up. One of the questions I'd like to ask you is, does the CBO anticipate a reduction in uncollected tax revenues as a result of the tax reform bill that we passed? Because I believe the projection for uncollected taxes last year or this year, last year was like $450 billion. I want to emphasize 450 billion with a B.
Yeah, you know, I don't know offhand. I'd have to talk to our tax folks, and maybe I can get back to you about.
Well, considering that's almost half the deficit, wouldn't that be relevant?
Well, sure, and I'm pretty sure it's in our forecast. I just don't know the number offhand.
Well, I'd be interested to know if that's in the forecast.
Right.
That was one of the objectives of the tax reform, was to simplify the tax code that would eliminate. Substantially eliminate the failure to collect all the taxes that are owed the federal government. There's also the issue, and I just left the hearing in the Oversight Committee on improper payments. That's 140 plus billion a year. It's going up every year. This committee last year included in our budget reducing that by half. That's 700 billion. The point I want to make is, and really that we can get to a balanced budget. The issue is, do we have the courage to tell the American people the truth about where we are in terms of our fiscal condition, and make recommendations that will get us back where we need to be to get our fiscal house in order. But that includes collecting all the taxes. That means taking advantage of our energy resources. That means eliminating improper payments. I pointed out that in 2015 we collected $516 billion just in fees. If we could collected another 16 or 17 billion in fines, if we captured just 10% of that, that's 50 plus billion per year. Do you believe that we could get to a balanced budget?
I think it would take some very difficult decisions and take some planning. But of course, I think it's possible. It's certainly certainly above my pay grade as to how to do that. But we can certainly.
If it's above your pay grade, that's kind of depressing. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.